Welcome to the Mindful Escape podcast. My name's Leighton, I'm your host, and today our guest is Ulrika. She's from Sweden and she tells an eventful story about how she lived her life going through extreme depression and just felt like she couldn't continue. Through certain events and spiritual happenings, she turned her life completely upside down. Her stories are deep and powerful, so make sure you're listening carefully, and I hope you enjoy this episode.
First of all, thank you for having me. It's very nice to be here and talk to you all the way, through time and space, different time zones. You're in Thailand and I'm in Sweden. And my name is Ulrika Karlsson, and I'm an intuitive empath. And nowadays I work as a spiritual teacher and healer, yoga therapist, and an international author, and also a reader of the Akashic records. So I'm pretty much here to guide people into high states of consciousness and coming back into their hearts. And I do that with several holistic tools. I have a background. I've studied yoga and other holistic disciplines with more than 28 years of experience. And my motto to guide people back into a higher state of consciousness and into their heart is relax. Because we do know that we cannot do anything if we are stressed. So first we need to relax, and then we need to release. We need to pull out what doesn't work for us with its root, so we can plant new seeds. And then we get to receive what it is that we want or desire, or the craving from our soul. So then we can live more soulful-led lives. So relax, release, receive. Yeah. It sounds easy, not always so simple though.
No, I'm sure. And I have to say that even speaking to you now for the first couple of minutes, I'm already feeling a bit more relaxed. It's like such a calming nature. So it's lovely. Thank you. So I just wanted to find out a little bit about your background, I guess. And before you got into this world, what were you doing before? And what triggered you to kind of come into this type of work and doing what you're doing?
So I've always been working in service-orientated occupations. I'm a trained physiotherapist and also a preschool teacher. So I have been in many dysfunctional organizations with many bitter women, and always with a very little money, because there's no money in tending to people, or so we are told, the illusions that we are told. And I was very shut down. I was just, in my headspace, very mental, and I had very high inner demands on myself. So over the years, I've had sleeping disorders since I was a teenager, and I'm like 51 now. So I've had sleeping disorders for more than 30 years.
Okay, wow.
And it came to the point where I only slept 15 minutes per night. And so my first book is called 2:47 a.m. Journey Home to My Heart. And here I share my journey from being in my headspace and being, suicidal, depressed, burnout, and how life really showed me, that either you're going to continue to do what you're doing and then you're going to kill yourself, or you have to do changes. So this is how it started. So obviously, what I have experienced going from being suicidal to a spiritual teacher, I only teach and I only guide people into what I know works, that has worked for me, because obviously I wouldn't be here if it didn't work.
Yeah.
So it's my own journey, my own experiences, my gathered healing practices and modalities that I've undertook in my own journey. I've sort of, made like a smorgasbord out of them to be able to serve others. But so my turning point was when I was really depressed and suicidal, and I was married at a time. I had 2 small children. My baby girl was only like 3 months, 6 months. And every night I slept, as I mentioned, 15 minutes per night. And I woke up from nightmares where I was being murdered every night. I was being tortured, slaughtered, murdered.
Wow.
And I woke up with a stale taste of blood in my mouth and a heart pounding, racing, really disorientated, until I watched at the alarm clock saying 2:47 a.m. And then I realized that I had only slept 15 minutes. And at that time I was, being chased in my dreams so much. So I always woke up with a silent scream. So I told my husband at the time that he didn't know that I was suicidal, that I was standing in front of the bathroom mirror every morning, looking at all my pills for depression, for anxiety, for stress, for panic attacks, etc., etc. And I was looking at them, and in my own eyes, and just meeting myself in the mirror. And there was so much self-hatred and so much guilt, disdain. I was, complete dead in my eyes. There was no life spark left. So each day I was looking and thinking, is this the day? Well, I'm going to end my life. So I never told him, but I told him that I was really, really, really tired and that I needed to get away because I was so sensitive of light and sound. So I was like a junkie. I was, my nervous system was firing all the time. So I go out into the archipelago, the Swedish archipelago. My parents have a house there, and there I get a text from a friend of mine, and she was just writing to me, "I love you." And then I start to feel something moving inside of me, and I was so scared of it. So I deleted the SMS and I started to do what I knew best, because I also had eating disorders at the time. So I started to do power walk to burn off calories. And then I get another text and it says again, "I love you." And I delete that and I feel this, it's like a volcano inside. Something is moving and it scares the shit out of me because I don't know what it is. I'm absolutely terrifying. And then I hear another pling and I take up my phone and there it says again, "I love you." And then, because she knew that I was going to the archipelago just for a couple of days of being by myself, leaving my small kids with my husband at the time. So at the time I feel it's like a stab of a dagger, of a knife in my heart, and it feels like I'm having a heart attack. So I put my hands over my heart thinking, oh my God, I'm going to die. I'm going to die here in the woods all by myself. I didn't even get to say goodbye to my children. And at the same time, I'm falling down into the snow. And I'm lying there and it's like I hear this snap. And then this something that I couldn't really suppress anymore just erupts. It explodes and it feels like my heart is blown into a million pieces. And the pain is the most intense pain that I've ever felt in my life. So I'm still trying to clutch onto my heart to sort of hold it together. And so I'm lying there in the snow, and then I hear horrifying primal screams. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm here in the forest. It might be a wolf or a damaged animal. And I'm here, I'm going to die. If I'm not dying from this heart attack, then I'm going to be eaten by this beast. Until I realize that these sounds are my own. These sounds, these primal screams, grunts, horrifying sounds, roars, screams, and then I start to cry. That it's my screams. So this was a turning point for me, because I was in the snow for hours and hours, screaming and howling and lying there in fetus position, holding onto my heart. Okay. And when I come back to my senses, it's pitch black. So I know that I've been there for many, many hours. And for the first time, it is silence in my head. And the best way that I can describe it is that it was like an expansion, a stillness in expansion. It was like meeting God or source or whatever you like to name it. So So for the first time, it was completely still in my head and all my senses were enhanced. And I knew something has happened. I just didn't know what it was, but it was like a turning point to me to realize that I have to choose to live or die.
Yeah.
And life chose me.
Wow. Yeah. Powerful story.
Thank you.
It's yeah, amazing, because I think most people probably won't have that kind of experience, but you really went through a lot with that. And I guess it'd be interesting to know, after going through that experience and say the next day or the next few days, you're thinking, okay, I can't continue living life as it is. What were the challenges that came up for you in terms of trying to change your life?
I guess like this is my personal experience and also my professional experience is that we are our own, biggest resistance. We are our biggest judges and everything. So for my challenge was to face myself, to face all my fears, to face everything that I have suppressed in my whole life up till now. And I'm a yogi, so I also believe in reincarnation, that energy never dies. It just takes different shapes and forms. So not only from all the traumas and unresolved emotions, stagnated, frozen emotions from this lifetime, also traumas and unresolved emotions from previous lifetime. And on top of that, also, blood lineages from my mother's side and from my father's side. So all these shits, like the 95% of the unconscious programs that we are made of, each and one of us. We are made of 95% unconscious programs, traumas, frozen emotions, etc. So we only have access to 5% of consciousness. So I started, instead of searching for the answers out there, to be good looking, to be effective, to be productive, to be successful, whatever that is, to be good, because many of us in Western societies, we are taught that it's good to be a good girl or a good boy, to be efficient, to be logic, to be driven, to be ambitious. And it is good when it's in balance, but most of us are not in balance, as we are governed, we are ruled by these 95% of unconscious programs. So I wish I could say that there's like, it was an easy journey back for me, but it wasn't, because everything that I had stored away, everything that I had shied away from, that I had escaped from, that I had distracted myself from, I had to face. So this self-hatred, all my fears, my limited beliefs about myself and who I am, what we are taught in our societies that we are. So I had to sort of face all of this and reprogram myself. So it's been like a long journey to unravel it all, and not just, to tuck it in, which most of us do. We are stressed, we numb ourselves with medication, with, social media, with being even greater at work. And here is the thing, like workaholics in our society, it's deep imbalance in the root chakra, which is a distorted view, and it causes each and one of us to be distorted, and which we are living in a distorted created matrix. So and I found out that there are no shortcuts, because I had tried them all. I had tried to numb myself, to distract myself, to escape. I had tried to struggle and to resist it. I had tried so many things to not feel all these suppressed emotions and unresolved traumas. But there isn't. I haven't found any shortcuts. So the shortest way to heal is to move through it, to sit with it, to be with it. And just to allow, as we know, emotions mean energy in motion, but most of us have frozen emotions, meaning that they're stagnated. It causes blockages and symptoms, so we become diseased, not at ease. There's no easy flow. So the easiest way is to remove, to transform, to transmute these inner blockages, to create this inner flow. And from this space, you can create an outer flow. Because if I am completely distorted, imbalanced, diseased, in disharmonies in my inner world, how can I contribute to a better world in the outer world, right? So I can only give what I have. I cannot, and I cannot change what I'm not even aware of. So it starts with becoming aware of, oh my God, I have so much karma, so much shit. But the positive thing is that we can use our inner shit as a manure, as a fertilizer for our growth. And we know that there is no growth in comfort zone, right? All the growth occurs outside the comfort zone. And so there's an ego within each and one of us, and the ego is all about survival, like keeping us safe, in the illusion of being safe. So the ego is holding us back. The ego is running the show of govern us with the 95% of unconscious programs. And then we have the soul, the consciousness, the pureness from divine source, which is here to push us, to challenge us, and to be more aligned with who we are on a soul level.
Yeah.
So we always, as a free soul, we always have a free choice. Like, do I want to stay in my misery, in my suffering, or do I want to change it?
Yeah.
But most of us, we are so adapted to stay put, to keep everything in order, to keep it nice. I know you're from UK and I'm from Sweden, and here in Sweden we even have a saying called the jantelagen, that who do you think you are? You're nothing special. You shouldn't be too much, too happy, too sad, too angry, too horny. You should be very conform and adapt. Adapt to what?
Yeah.
Normal only means somebody, a small group of people have considered this to be normal. So a few people have considered, our attitudes and behaviors and lifestyles to be the norm, because then we are good consumers, we are good, citizens, we do what we are told.
Yeah.
So the change that I want to see in the outer world, it is like they say, be the change that you want to see, because I cannot conduct a change in the outer world that is sustainable if it doesn't start within me, if it's not anchored within me. So I need to do my inner work first, or parallel. I mean, I'm not complete. I don't think that will ever be ready, because there's more layers, more challenges, disguised gifts. So there's an ongoing evolution, an ongoing growth, if you're willing to say yes to it. But most people only want to dig on the surface. And that's why they only are satisfied with staying in this crappy relationship, or, staying in this crappy job, or staying in my crappy mindset. But we do have the power and the possibility to change. It is who we are designed to be.
Yeah. And it sounds like no matter what challenge came up for you, it always came back to yourself and understanding who you are and what you needed to do in order to overcome that.
Exactly. And the more I studied and the more I explored these studies and made them embodied, not only did I acquire knowledge, I acquired the, embodied wisdom, the wisdom that comes from within. If I'm full of shit, how can I see the light for the shit? right? So I really have to transform it. I have to transform the 95% of unconscious to make it more conscious. I have to transform the darkness to have access to more light. So there's no, this is what I'm saying, there's no like shortcut that there's something you can read or listen to. It's, you know, it's all an individual journey, and we can do it, and we can take help from people who have done the journey. They can guide us, they can, you know, guide us back into ourselves, because nobody out there is going to save you. You are the one who can save you, but we can always take somebody's hand, and we can get support. But, you know, to clearing the inner shit out, the inner karma, that is an individual job. Happiness is an inside job.
100%, definitely. And then through all these challenges, all the things that you were trying to overcome, what were the main lessons that you learned throughout that journey?
Actually, quite many.
Could you pick
and I've
maybe
mentioned
your
it.
top lessons? I think as you go, you've been on this journey for a long time, and I think as you go through, there's always new lessons that are arising.
Exactly.
So I don't know if there's maybe a couple of key lessons that you would pick out, or maybe some of the lessons that came earlier on for people who are at the start of this journey and kind of need some guidance.
So a couple of hints or guidance is that one could choose to see the word depressed as a deep rest, depressed. So a rest for body, mind, and soul. So if you find yourself in a dark space, maybe it's a new opportunity. Maybe you have been planted to become a new seed. So that is a good reminder that, okay, it's dark. And then one very important thing is that life constantly changes. It is the nature of life is change. We see it through, you know, seasons come and go, day come and go, night come, days come and go. So the constant in life is change. So even if you are in that dark space and you feel that you are isolated or separated or alone, which I felt very much when I was there, first of all, you're never alone, because there are always people who have the same experience as you have, and you can reach out to them. So that's good. And secondly, that if you sit with it long enough, the nature is that it will change. But as we are maintaining the energy, as we are always keeping ourselves distracted, numbing, running around in the hamster wheel, living in matrix, we are upholding the same thing that we want to heal.
Yeah.
So we are upholding the energy of the things that is making us struggle. So if just, and we always get what we are able to handle. So if I'm able to handle only a little, I only will get a little, and then it will increase. If I'm able to handle a lot, then, you know, it's like opening the dams, the flood. So first of all, everything is changing. So if it's uncomfortable now, just sit with it, be with it, breathe through it, you know, trust your soul's guidance, and you can transform it if you stay long enough. So that's one thing. And the second thing is that start with your breath.
Yeah, I like that one.
Because the breath, the first thing that you do when you come into this physicality, you take a breath. And the last thing you do when you leave this world and this body, you leave it with an exhalation. And most people have very, very limited and restricted breathing patterns. And your breath affects you know, everything about you, everything in your life, your relationship, your health, the quality of your life. So to start with the breath, and the Swedish word for breath is andetag. It literally means to connect with spirit, because most of us, we are disconnected from spirit. We are living in high-tech societies, but we are disconnected from spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And this disconnection from spirit, this disconnection from soul, is what's causing the suffering for us as living beings.
I've got a question for you around sitting with the feelings, and whether you're starting with the breath or how each individual deals with this feeling. I understand that you mainly deal with women, and the majority of the clients I have are men. And there's something around emotions coming up that I find with men, they find it harder to let in. What's
Yes.
your perception on that, either as a male and female or just as a human in general?
First of all, I would love to work with more men. But as you say, most men are intimidated by strong emotions. And this is one part of the deep programming. Like we know that we have been programmed for thousands of years. I have written 3 books about this. And each book is here with a different energy and a different frequency to guide us through this on our individual path and also in the collective consciousness. So we all have yin and yang energies, right? We all have yin and yang energies, female and masculine energies within us. But you, as in a male body, most of men, I'm speaking very general here, most men have more of the yang essences, right? And most women, not for all, obviously there are differences, and but most people aren't balanced in their yin and yang. So, and being in a female body, I have access to more of the yin qualities. And yin is very much associated with water element, as in emotions, as in flow, as in, being in the body, etc., etc. I mean, we are giving birth to children through our bodies. Mm-hmm. So women have generally more access to yin qualities. And when we don't have access to yin qualities, and when we suppress our emotions, it's part of these deep programming, the 95% of the unconscious programs that we have, and that has been running for thousands of years to keep us separated, to keep us in place. Mm-hmm. So I would love to collaborate with you, Leighton, and to do a work with the feminine and masculine energies for men as well, because it is so important to work with your emotions and to work through them, because they are the foundation of everything that is distorted or misaligned within you. Yeah. These frozen emotions are like the base of also what causes cancer, what causes, all these diseases that we are seeing in the Western world. Mm-hmm. Burnout, depression, stress related. It is a non-flow of the water element.
Yeah, it's incredibly important, and I think it's getting better with this new generation, with people being more open about being in touch with their feelings and emotions, but there's still that stigma there, that negativity, the unmanliness about it. So yeah, definitely something that I'm working on and working on with my clients, and really keen to explore further.
I totally agree. And I just want to say also in this book, Holy Fuck and Sacred Water, the secret connections to everything, we are talking about how, as we already mentioned, we contain a water. 75% of our beings is made up of water, and there's water in our cells and in our DNA. And so the memories in our cells and DNA contain these polluted waters from traumas in this lifetime and past lifetimes, and from our ancestral lineages. So that's why it's so important to clear out the inner water to increase and to get access to high states of consciousness and to be who you are, because it's stored so deep within us. So it really take, knowledge also and wisdom on how to clear out these polluted cells, this polluted DNA that we all carry. So even though that the new generation is better, they still have, as you say, the stigma of the old energies. Everything that has ever lived is stored within each and one of our cells.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple of things I've taken from our conversation in terms of where to start with the breath, dealing with your own feelings. If you were to summarize kind of what we've discussed and to give one piece of advice to those listening, those who are feeling maybe a little bit stuck in what they're doing day to day and want to step outside their comfort zone, maybe make some changes in their life, is there something that you would say to them today?
Yes, baby steps, and just to have that longing is the first step. I mean, all changes started from in, right? So I have these thoughts, and then my thought is running in my blood veins, and then it becomes an action. And if you're not happy with your actions or your thoughts, then you have to change it. And this is also what I'm talking about, like clearing out your inner pollutions of the water. This is my puppy here. Yes, I see you. So clearing out the inner pollution, and to ask for help, because there are people that have been doing this before you, and they can guide you, because it's not about helping you to be free. It's helping you to free yourself.
Absolutely. And I think it's a really important message that people should talk more. And I know when I was in a state of feeling depressed, it was the last thing I wanted to do. But it wasn't until I started talking that I started to realize the state that I was in, and I could start then learning about myself and my feelings and taking step forwards. So no, that's amazing.
Exactly. And also I want to add, as a body worker and an energy worker, like, it's good to talk, but if you're only talking and not walking the talk, it's difficult, because everything that involves your healing and to get back to who you are on a soul level and to get access to high state of consciousness, it needs to go through the body as it's stored in the body. So you need to use the body in various ways. Like, I'm a yoga therapist. I work a lot with the breath. I work with the body all the time to guide my people into their body, because then they will have the access to the keys that will unlock themselves. Because everything is stored in the body. So we need to work with the body. So if I'm only talking and talking and talking, like, I know many people that have been, to therapy for years, and that is also very unconsciously one way to uphold the energy. I'm talking about the energy that I don't want to have. So I attract it even more.
Yeah.
So just to be very aware about that, to be conscious about that, and to the best way to heal is to move it through the body.
You heard it here. Talk and walk. Love it.
Excellent.
Thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find you online? Are you on Instagram, LinkedIn?
I am on both Facebook and Instagram. I have been heavily censored these past couple of years, because people in power don't want people like us to become conscious, obviously. So I've been censored, but I am on Instagram and Facebook as Ulrika, Ullis Karlsson, with ULRIKA, and my website is www.ulliskarlsson.com, ulliskarlsson.com. So please connect, and if you have any questions, I'm here to guide you back into yourself.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ulrika. It's been a pleasure.
Same, and thank you for having me, and also thank you who are listening to this. And remember, it starts within you, and you only get what you are ready for. So you got this.